So what if I told you that four people from four completely different decades all made the exact same financial mistake? It's a mistake that has nothing to do with being bad with money and everything to do with a trap that just, well, it changes its costume with every single generation.
First up, let's meet Robert. He's 68, a baby boomer. You know the story. He worked hard, bought a beautiful home back in the 80s, raised a family. From the outside looking in, he had it all figured out. Then we have Karen. She's 52, a classic Gen Xer. She's built a solid career in marketing, she's got a nice car, takes those yearly vacations. You look at her life and you think, wow, she is doing great.
Next up is Marcus, our 38-year-old millennial. He's had to navigate a really tough economy. He's chipped away at student loans, and while buying a house felt kind of impossible, his life was full of brunches and weekend getaways.
And finally, there's Zoe. At 24, she might be the most financially clued-in person her family has ever produced. She's got a side hustle, she's already investing, she knows exactly what compound interest is, a real Gen Z finance whiz.
So you've got these four people, right? Four completely different financial situations. So what's the common thread here? What's the one thing that connects Robert's suburban dream to Zoe's investing app?
The crazy thing is, they all fell into the exact same trap. Not a similar one, the exact same one. It just wore different clothes depending on the decade. And the real question is, which version are you living in right now?
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to redefine what wealth even means. It all boils down to this one simple idea: the signal versus the substance. It's about a universal misunderstanding of what wealth is versus what it just looks like.
And here it is. The trap, the one they all fell for, is prioritizing the signal of wealth, all the stuff that makes you look like you've arrived, over the substance of wealth, which is the boring, invisible work of actually building it.
And this slide just lays it all out so perfectly. On the left, you've got the signals: the big house, the nice car, the hashtag travel goals on Instagram, the designer clothes. Then on the right, you've got the substance: a high savings rate, boring old index funds, low debt, assets that are just quietly compounding in the background. See the difference? One is super visible and gets you social approval. The other is totally invisible, but it's what actually gets you free.
So how did this one trap manage to fool four completely different generations? Let's break it down, because once you see how it showed up in their stories, you might just start to see it in your own.
All right, let's start with Robert. For his generation, owning a home was the ultimate signal that you'd made it. It was stability, it was status, it was the entire American dream wrapped up with a white picket fence. And so, naturally, he put everything he had into it.
And this leads directly to that classic problem: being house rich, cash poor. On paper, Robert's house is worth a ton of money. But now, at 68, most of his net worth is trapped inside the four walls he lives in. See, the house wasn't the trap itself. The trap was believing the house was the entire plan.
Okay, now let's talk about Karen. Gen X grew up with this idea of the dual-income household. The promise was, you're going to earn more and you're going to have more. And they did earn more. But as the quote says, every single time her income went up, her lifestyle went up right along with it.
And wow, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? This is what we call lifestyle creep. Just look at it. Her income goes up. Great. But her expenses? They go up right alongside it. And what happens to her savings rate? It just stays flat. The signal of success for her generation was a certain lifestyle, and that lifestyle ate up every single raise.
All right, on to Marcus the millennial. His generation came along after the 2008 financial crisis, when those traditional signals like buying a home suddenly felt totally impossible. So the culture shifted. It became all about experiences over things. But here's where the trap gets really sneaky.
That lived life itself became the new signal. The passport full of stamps, the incredible stories from that trip, this was sold to them as a more enlightened way to live. But what it often did was mask a lack of actual asset building. The trap wasn't spending money on experiences, it was using experiences as a substitute for building wealth. And that brings us to Zoe. Now, Gen Z is by far the most financially literate generation we have ever seen. They know all the lingo. So how in the world could they fall for the same trap? Well, like the quote says, their version isn't about ignorance. It's about performance.
And man, this budget tells you everything you need to know. The signal for Gen Z is a certain aesthetic. The right tech, the right look for the camera. So look, Zoe is investing 50 quid a month, which is awesome. But she's spending 200 quid, 4 times that amount, on what she calls aesthetic upgrades. These are things whose primary function is how they look online. They know the language of wealth, but sometimes they're just using it to perform wealth instead of actually building it.
So 4 generations, 1 trap. Kinda grim, right? But here's the good news. There is an escape plan, and it's probably simpler than you think. This is how you can break the cycle.
Okay, so here's the 3-step escape plan. Step 1, you have to consciously learn to see the difference between the signal and the substance in your own life. Step 2, and listen, this is the really hard part. You have to be willing to look less wealthy than you actually are. And step 3, you take the difference, all that money you're not spending on signals, and you put it somewhere boring that compounds.
Look, if you remember nothing else from all of this, remember this one rule. Assets first, lifestyle second. Every single time. And that doesn't mean you can never have a nice lifestyle. It just means you wait until your assets are doing enough of the heavy lifting to genuinely pay for it.
So we've talked about Robert, Karen, Marcus, and Zoe. But let's be real. The only story that truly matters right now is yours. So let's figure out your version of the trap.
I want you to just sit with this for a second, honestly. Which version of this generational trap are you currently living? Think about it. Are you in the boomer trap, where your house holds almost all of your worth? Or maybe the Gen X trap, where your lifestyle magically expands to eat up every single raise? Are you in the millennial trap, using amazing experiences as a stand-in for building real assets? Or are you caught in the Gen Z trap, spending more on the aesthetic of wealth than on wealth itself? Hey, there's no judgment here at all, because the first and honestly the most powerful step you can take to get out of any trap is simply being able to name it.